The roll call, please, John, or read
Sure.
it?
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chairman Giorgiani.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Okay. So we do pledge allegiance?
Yes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, can you read
Notice
public notice, please?
Notice of meeting was given in the following manner. Notice of meeting was transmitted to the Home News Tribune. Said notice of meeting and a copy of the agenda were filed with the Office of City Clerk on August 16, 2019. And said notice of the meeting and a copy of the agenda were prominently posted on the announcement board in the lobby of City Hall, 78 Bayard Street, at least 48 hours prior to the convening of this meeting.
Thank you.
You have minutes from the...
Yeah, the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yep. Need a motion in a second?
I'll move it. I'll second.
There you go.
Ready?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Chair, if you'd like, I can do the reading of the redevelopment resolution. We have a presentation today, acting as redevelopment authority.
Sure.
Good. All right, resolution number 22, acting as redevelopment agency, is a resolution approving designation of Sterling Side Urban Renewal LLC as redeveloper of project site Sterling Side or redeveloper for a multi-family residential project in Lower George Street redevelopment area and approving the concept plan provided by Sterling Side for the project site. We need a motion and a second before we can open the floor.
So move. Second.
Okay. We have our special counsel here, John.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. This is a redevelopment project by Sterling Side Urban Renewal LLC, which is entirely owned or controlled by community builders, and that's important because the community has built over 1,000 units of low and moderate housing and has built Lord Sterling and Hope Manor here in Riverside, here in New Brunswick. The previous project is similar. The site's in Lower George Street redevelopment area, known as lots 1.01, 1.02, and block 121. It's really at the corner of Nielsen Street and Tabernacle Way. The project is a 5-story, 53-unit, multi-family residential for households earning 50 to 60% of the median income. There's 9 one-bedroom, there's 32 bedroom, and there's 14 three-bedroom, of which 6 of these units will be allocated for the homeless. And the developer will explain how that works. There's also, there are community facilities. There's a community room, a computer room, a community laundry room, and there's an outdoor terrace. There's 46 covered parking spaces, which are allocated for both this project and for the Lord Sterling residents. Right now, the Lord Sterling residents have only 3 permits, but they will have to have permits if they live either here or at Lord Sterling. As I indicated, the community has built over 1,000 units around the country, and it's built here in New Brunswick. The cost of the project is estimated to be $19.3 million, $2.4 million in debt, and $15.9 million in lower income tax credits. The starting date is anticipated to be July of 2020, completion date by December 2021, but we have an option to extend for a year if they don't get the lower tax credits in 2019 period. They require various variances. One is height, because the redeveloped area only permits 4 stories. And there's a parking variance. They're going before the zoning board of adjustment, I believe on Monday. The resolution is contingent on the following: 1, a redevelopment agreement within 150 days. I think we can get that hopefully here for the next meeting. 2, they get all the variances they need for the zoning board of adjustment. And 3, that there's a guarantee signed by community builders, because we want to make sure that it's this community that has the financial wherewithal. And Sterling Side is just a subsidiary of the community. We have 2 representatives here, one from the developer, that's Kirina Mehta, and from the architect, Sherry Edwards, who would like to make a brief presentation.
Okay, like John said, my name is Karuna Mehta, and I'm a development project manager with the Community Builders. We've worked with the Housing Authority now for well over 10 years, and we're excited to continue our partnership here in New Brunswick. So just to go over the project development team quickly, the community builders will be the owner, developer, and property manager for this site. And Ingles Architecture, Sherry will be speaking soon, will be the architect of record as well as the engineer. We hope to bring a GC on to the team by the end of this year as well. Just a little bit more background on the community builders. We're a national nonprofit housing developer. We've developed over 30,000 units nationally since the late 1960s, with over 2.5 billion leveraged in public and private sources. We also are a property manager, and we manage over 8,000 units nationwide. Focusing more on our experience in New Brunswick, we have been working with the Housing Authority since 1998, when we were a designated developer under the Hope 6 program. And through that experience, we've developed 3 projects in New Brunswick: Riverside, which is 76 units of family housing; Hope Manor, which is 68 units of family housing and commercial space; and finally Lord Sterling, which is 48 units of senior housing with supportive services on site. So just going over the current site conditions really quickly. It's made up of 2 lots at the corner of Nielsen and Tabernacle. The first lot which comprises most of the development site, is a vacant gravel lot. And then the second lot is currently a 23-space parking lot for Lord Sterling residents. As John referenced, the parking lot is underutilized by residents. Only 3 of them have permits. We're assuming everyone else who's parked there is parked there illegally, or they're staff of the community builders. Our plan is to demolish the parking lot and then rebuild a combined covered parking lot with 46 spaces that'll be shared between permitted residents of both buildings. Our intended unit distribution will be 1s, 2s, and 3 bedrooms, mostly reserved for folks making 50 and 60% of the AMI. There will also be 6 units reserved for homeless tenants, and we'll be partnering with Coming Home of Middlesex County, which administers the local continuum of care, to find tenants for those units. They organize the coordinated assessment list, so they have a detailed list of all of the folks seeking housing from local shelters or working with other social service groups, and they have prioritized those that are ready and need affordable housing, so we'll be seeking referrals from them. We'll also be, sure.
I'm fascinated by could you say a little more about the homeless?
Yeah.
I mean, is there job training, or how do they pay for it, or what? Could you say a little more about
Yeah,
that?
sure. So my understanding of how this will work is, right now, all of the folks that are on that list have case managers with other social service groups in the area. Those social service groups have said, hey, we've done a lot of work with you, you guys are ready for housing. And then they put them on this list. The COC, administered through Coming Home, those are the people that administer the list. We'll be working with them to accept tenants off of that list. And then once they are in the housing, we're going to be hiring a resident services coordinator who will be working with all 6 of those families to make sure they have access to job training programs, educational programs, health, anything that they may need in the county. So that'll be a combined effort of that coordinator organizing those programs, and when necessary, referring them to other programs in the county.
What kind of rental assistance do you have? Is it project-based rental assistance for the homeless and the 50% clients?
So there's no rental assistance for them. Those homeless units are underwritten to 30% of the area median income. And we've done a lot of research and work with Coming Home, and they've found that actually a lot of the folks that are in shelter now do earn an income, but it's not enough to get them housing locally. So our intent is to service those residents, and if there is a threat of them losing their jobs, continue to work with them on job training and ensure that they have the proper employment they need in order to pay the rent.
So at the minimum, you're expecting about $220 per person for the homeless because they have only SSI. So
Yeah,
take 30%, yeah.
sorry, I don't know the rents off the top of my head, but they're, I think for a 3-bedroom, it's a little more than that, obviously, because there's 2 earners.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be very low.
Now, do you think the project will work without any rental assistance?
Yeah, I think it will work. We've done enough market assessments, and we have enough experience from Riverside and Hope Manor to know generally what the market is and the type of housing that people are looking for. And we feel very strongly that there is a demand for housing with rents at those levels locally.
But will the project survive with those rents?
Oh,
Unless you
yeah,
have rental
yes, yeah.
assistance?
Yeah, definitely.
How much are you asking for 2 bedrooms? I mean, approximately.
Again, I don't know the numbers
Yeah.
off the top of my head, I'm really sorry, but I could get you that information after the meeting if you'd like it.
Yeah, because this
Yeah,
type of
absolutely.
projects, from my experience, they don't work without any rental assistance.
Mhm.
That's why I'm asking that.
Yeah, so we're putting, our work in throughout the next year to make sure that the budget pencils out, and we're confident that it'll work. But I will definitely get you those rents, so you have them.
Okay. Now, with the $680,000 coming from,
That's
yeah,
housing.
where are they
first.
getting it? Is that the DCA money or?
So that is a capital program, again, administered through Coming Home of Middlesex County. And it's a fund that they administer with the intent of helping develop affordable housing
Oh,
units.
okay.
So that'll be capital dollars going
Okay.
towards the construction of those units.
Hopefully you'll get the tax credit.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Question. Now, you indicated in regards to the homeless units, that you're dealing with families that are coming from shelters. Have there been any thought in percent looking at 4 2-bedroom apartments or 2 3-bedroom apartments, because you're dealing with families?
Yes.
1-bedroom apartment, because, so, has that been looked at?
Yes, so actually, that is a change that happened this week. So we moved, the new spread is 2 1-bedrooms, 2 2-bedrooms, and 2 3-bedrooms. And that direction actually came from HMFA, who wants to see more 2 and 3-bedrooms assigned for homeless
Because you're
units.
dealing with families, that's why.
Exactly, yeah. So we've made that reassignment as of 2 days ago.
Okay, so 2, 2, and 2.
2, 2, and 2.
Excellent. Chair, just as a point of,
Yes, go
doesn't
ahead.
matter, we will also be opening a referral component for our public housing waiting list.
Okay.
We're working on issuing a letter so that they'd be able to draw from that list as well.
Really quickly going over the project amenities. Again, we want this to be a family-friendly environment, so we'll be including a large community room with a computer lab and an outdoor resident terrace, as well as a centralized laundry room. We also hope to include a fitness center, bicycle storage, on-site property management offices, and again, that at-grade covered parking lot with 46 spaces. And as John said, we're going to be in front of the zoning board on Monday to seek a parking variance to lower the number of required parking spots from what it is now to 43 for Sterling Side residents. And then we'll have 3 spots reserved for those Lord Sterling residents that already have parking permits. So the other 3 spots in the garage will be set aside for those tenants as well. We're also prioritizing green and sustainable features, so looking at a green rooftop on the 3rd floor. We're going to be certifying through Enterprise Green Communities and as well as Energy Star. And we're also exploring a solar panel array on the roof with hopes that that helps lower our annual utility expenses. Project financing, as John mentioned, we're looking at around $19 million right now. We'll be applying for 9% tax credits in September of this year, and we've already submitted an application with Coming Home Middlesex's Housing First program for $680,000. The rest of the financing will be provided through private debt. Finally, a timeline. If all goes as planned, we hope to get site plan approval by the end of this month, apply for tax credits in mid-September, and we'll hear back in December. Hope to have construction documents completed and submitted to the city for approval in March 2020, and begin construction in July 2020. And that puts us on track to have the building placed in service and open by fall 2021. All right, so I'm going to hand it off to Sherry now to talk through the design thinking a little bit. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Edwards, and I'm an architect and engineer with Ingles Architecture and Engineering. I'm just going to go over really briefly a few points of the design. As Corinna mentioned, it's going to be 53 dwelling units and 46 parking spaces on the ground floor, along with several amenities already mentioned. The layout of the project is 4/1. It's a podium design, so it'll be 4 stories of wood frame construction over 1 story of steel and concrete. And the massing, the ground floor is lot line to lot line, but the 4 stories above step back and change volume. And the bays and setbacks occur along the facade to break up the massing as you go up the building. And volumes extend vertically for a few stories, but then we've played with the materiality to break up the massing as well from a vertical perspective. And also architectural cornices have been included, referencing the Lord Sterling building across the street. For this facade, we've also put together a material board. So there will be red brick, a cast stone cream color, fiber cement also in a cream color, corrugated metal panel in a dove gray, the vinyl windows, aluminum storefront, fiberglass cornice, and metal railing will all be a charcoal color. And we've given a copy of the plans at each of your packets if you want to take a closer look. So the existing conditions of the site are a parking lot and then gravel and unimproved area for most of the site. Here's our proposed dimensional site plan. So you can see we were proposing all new light poles and trees around the perimeter and sidewalk and curbs. This is the ground floor parking lot area of the project, which has an entrance on Nielsen. And our bike storage, maintenance room, a central trash room, loading area, and here's like the lobby and some of the amenities, the fitness room, and small office area here.
Now, with that central trash room, how will trash be picked up? Will you hire a service to come pick it up, or is it put on the curb?
It'll be a private hauling, which will be handled by the management of the building. And this trash room corresponds to a trash room on each floor above, which will have recycling bins as well as the chute for the trash compactor. So when it's time to haul the trash out, the maintenance will be responsible of collecting the recyclables from each floor, bringing them out, as well as the trash from the compactor room.
And yeah, we'll be working with a private hauler twice a week to get that out.
So moving on to the second floor plan above, here's where you can see some additional amenities that we're planning. The centralized laundry room in close proximity to the community room, which also has some outdoor terrace space, storage, computer lab, and the majority is units. As I noted before, here's the trash room that's continuing on all floors.
Generally, is that a 24-hour laundry opening?
It probably won't be 24-hour, but I'd have to confirm with property management what they do now, when they would close that off. But it would be available to residents within those hours at any time.
Respectable hours, obviously. Possibly respectable hours.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we want people to get some sleep on that floor, so we'd probably close it after a certain time.
The homeless units, will they be on the ground floor?
We haven't designated where the homeless units would be, but in general practice, we try and spread them around the building so
Okay.
that they're not all grouped together in
Sure.
one place, so.
Thank you.
And so moving on to the floor plans, this is just a typical floor above, and the units generally repeat from floor to floor. So each of the floors from the third floor up to the fifth would look like this one.
And you're still waiting for a zoning too for the.
That's all right. Height variances and
Right.
parking variances.
Where is the entrance? Is that on Newton or?
For the parking?
The entrance
No,
is
no,
part
the
of the
entrance
entrance.
to the building.
To the building. It's on
Is that
Wilson.
on Nielsen?
It's
Yeah.
on Nielsen as
Nielsen?
well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this will be the main lobby entrance. We'll have some mailboxes, a package room. Here's the elevators and stair. And there's a second stair here in the parking.
So this will be a secure building too?
Yeah, that's
also,
my
right?
Sorry.
This will be a secure building,
Yeah,
meaning like you have to have identification or some kind of passcode key.
you have to have a probably like a key
Some
fob to
kind of,
get
right,
in,
right.
and then there'll be CCTV as well.
Oh, right.
Excuse me, where will your mailbox be placed, mailbox?
The mailbox will be right here in the lobby and the package room on this side.
Ground floor?
Ground floor, yes. And oh, sorry.
I was just the naming of the structures, or Sterling Side, is there a particular name? Did you think of any New Brunswick, historic New Brunswick figures or anything? How did you come up with the name? or-
That is a good question. From what I've heard, Lord Sterling is like a local historic figure in and of himself, and that's where the name derives from, but I'm not sure.
Well, and again, just so, I've been on the school board for 22 years, and we tried to change the name of the Lord Sterling School.
Really?
And unfortunately, we had different factions who wouldn't change the name. And so I'm thinking this is an opportunity, because you don't need public input, to
Yeah.
actually name it for someone, a figure, you know, a New Brunswick figure. So I don't know if there's a chance to change the name.
I am happy to
But
continue
but I
that
would,
discussion
because we
with
don't have to
you,
deal with the politics of it, you know. And Lord Sterling, I'm sure, was fine, but we wanted to change the name, we just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think TCB would be really happy to continue that discussion
And we
and
could work with you. on
think about a figure that means more to New Brunswick now.
Yeah.
I was
that's perfect.
thinking the same thing.
Perfect.
I'll end with just some, sorry, did you say about?
How many units are handicap accessible?
Yes. All of the units are able to be adapted to be,
But accessible, not adaptable. Are there units which are accessible?
to begin with, I
ADA.
don't believe we have any
We don't
starting
have
with
any that
ADA.
begin, that are accessible from the get-go, but if we do find that tenants, that when we're initially leasing up, there are tenants who are handicapped, we will adapt those units for those tenants.
Sink heights and everything.
Hmm?
Sink heights and everything that goes where the,
Yeah. Yeah, it would be 100% ADA compliant.
So we'll work in all the necessary blocking for handrails ahead of time.
Sure.
And the workspaces, et cetera,
Even
clearances.
for the bathrooms, because those are the most expensive part for them.
Yep,
Yes.
so all of them will be, we call them adaptable, if they're not already set up with the handrails and everything to begin with. But all of them are able to be adapted fully to be full ADA units. And,
Would they be accessible for a wheelchair, even if they are adaptable?
yes,
Door sizes.
and these are the renderings that we had for the project. So this is a bird's eye view of what our current proposed project would look like on the site. And here's Lord Sterling here for reference. Your larger image of the visual.
Any questions from the board, any more questions from the board for? Is there any questions from the public on this? I saw somebody raise their hand, just quickly, not,
No.
quickly.
You want to go first, or?
Yeah, just, little,
Rachel Spencer, 2 Jennings. I came in late. What is this?
it's a housing project that we have here that's gonna house, what, six units will be for homeless families, and the other 40, what was it, 40, not too far, 46, 43.
The downtown project by the old Lord Sterling School.
But it's by the old,
Okay.
and lot that's next door.
Nielsen, off of Nielsen.
In the downtown.
Another question. Can y'all think about the bill?
This is a development.
I know, that's a developer, but I still wanna get that in y'all mind, cause we're going to hell in a handbasket over here. No, they don't care. No, they don't care. They ain't with nothing, Bill. They don't care. Yeah.
Quickly.
Charles Cradville, New Brunswick today. Do want to raise a concern about the time of this meeting. I'm not sure if the board is aware, but the city council meeting is happening.
I'm not worried about that, I'm just, if you have a question directed to them,
Let's-
not
let's-
about this, please.
It-
I got that, I understand.
It
you-
connects.
For you, it's a problem. I
Well, yeah,
understand,
and for anyone who's
I
interested
forget
in
it.
this
Go
building.
ahead, can I have a motion on this, please?
Sir, I have a valid question for the developer. Can I ask it?
I asked you to ask them a specific question about it, all you gotta do is talk to me about this.
I
This
couldn't
whole
even
thing
finish a
about the
sentence
city
before
council
you.
meeting, you can't make it here and this, I don't wanna hear that. Direct your question to them,
Okay.
state it, and that's it. I don't wanna hear anything else but that. The question about this project to them. If
Right.
not.
This project's
just
on
keep
tonight's
going.
council agenda. So that's why I'm asking about it, right?
Just
It
answer
is.
what you wanna
so-
ask them.
Yeah, let me get to my question and they
Do
can
it.
answer it.
Do it.
Thank you. So tonight, the city council voted for a long-term tax exemption for this project. On first reading, they still have to approve it on second reading. Will the developer, is it possible the project would be built if not, if the long-term tax exemption is not approved for 30 years?
We would have to go back and look at how that financing pencils out to see how that would impact the project.
Okay, but it's possible.
It's possible, but again, it would depend on what the long-term financing looks like, and I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, and I want to thank the folks for coming here and giving a good presentation. I do have concerns if there is going to be a long-term tax exemption about the funding for the school system, because...
To be clear,
Yeah,
we're not getting a 100% tax abatement,
right,
so we would be paying annual taxes.
right, but only to the city and not the school. And obviously, some children will end up living in the building, schools will be on the hook to educate them, and for 30 years at least, unless there's something I don't know about your deal, the schools would not get any funding. Can you tell me, does the applicant have any proposal to make up for that in any way, to make contributions to the schools or partner with the schools in any way?
We'd have to discuss that further.
Okay. And then finally, I just want to ask about the relationship with the, whoever owns the apartment complex over there, New Brunswick Apartments. It's a neighboring complex, and I recall there was an application before the zoning board about an earlier version of this project, and it was said that there's some type of coordination for the parking, right? Is that still in place? Is there a relationship between that company that owns that and this company?
Just a clarification, I think you're talking about the Lord Sterling School at this project, not the New Brunswick Apartments. So the Lord Sterling School and this project do have a relationship. The New Brunswick Apartments in this project do not.
Do not.
But there was previously mentioned that the old Lord Sterling School, which has been converted,
Right.
will have a relationship with this project, and they will share the parking component, but not New Brunswick Apartments.
They're
I
not
think
in,
that's what-
they're not in on the
No, no,
parking
no.
deal. Okay, because it was said at the previously, a previous application
Yeah.
for zoning board. So I do want to say, I walk through Hope Manor every day. I have a friend who lives in the old Lord Sterling School, and so I hope that this can live up to the past things that have been put forward by you guys in our city, and I just do want to put on the record that concern about the funding for the school system.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, you have a motion and a second. Shall I go to the roll?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde? Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell? Chair? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you all.
Thank you.
John?
Shall I go on the regular meeting
Very
or?
nice project, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I like it. John, can we go into our,
Do you want to do any public comment first, or you want to go to the regular meeting? I don't know, we have some people here, if they want to sit through the whole meeting?
No,
Oh, okay. It's up to him.
yeah, if you have, all right.
Want to do the public comment?
Would you like to do public comment?
Do you have any comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
I got
didn't
something
see
to
it.
say.
Yes.
Okay,
Just state, I'm sorry, just state your name for the record.
Right.
Miss Sanders, that's good enough.
Right.
All right, Mr. Clark,
this question to you.
Sure.
I called this office 2 times last week about my door.
About your what?
My door.
Your door?
Yeah.
What unit is this, Ms. Sanders?
14 Burton Court.
14 Bergen, right? Who did you speak to in the office?
I don't know. I spoke to some young lady. I said, yeah, we'll send somebody out there and fix it. Then I talked to some young man. Oh, we'll send somebody out there to fix it. But then they said, oh, you're not important. Well, why I'm not important?
Who said that?
Some young man said, oh, we'll get you because you're not important. So
Which when you say young man,
I have no idea who he was.
What door is this? Your front door or back door?
My
Inside?
back door.
Your back door, okay.
And remember how we talked about I know, but I'm right on. Well, we're not important.
Your back door?
My back door.
And somebody said you weren't important.
No, ain't nobody in the building important. We gotta get you young
Do
people.
you know, do you know who it was?
No, it was a young man. Cause y'all know how y'all hire people in, they go in there, hotel.
Are they maintenance, John, or something?
I'll check, I'm thinking it's gotta be, but I'll check tomorrow. Are you over there now? Because we have somebody on night call that can go over.
I'm not important.
Okay.
That what y'all said?
Maybe what we'll do is we'll get some people so you can identify who the person was, because tell
I
them
don't give
it's
a
a
damn
young
who y'all
man who
get
doesn't
with.
come out.
Now right now, I'm kinda pissed off because I feel like I came out of it, I'm as important than anybody else.
Okay.
And that's the way I feel.
I'll check the system and make sure someone gets over there, but rest assured.
Oh, it's fixed now. It's fixed now. And y'all did not do it.
Oh, who fixed it?
I know your damn phone business. You didn't do it. I wasn't important to y'all. So why who fixed it?
If you remember the person that said that, I'd like to know.
I don't care. I'm not calling house authority for nothing. I'll call about my safety and stuff and everything. Y'all don't do nothing. Y'all don't do
Is
nothing.
your sink stopped up right now?
No, it didn't fix. Not by nobody from house authority because we ain't important.
You don't know who the new people are.
I don't care about the new people.
You know what I'm saying?
And my thing is, I got a letter saying I owe y'all $163 for a late fee.
Okay.
Okay? But I paid my rent on the 7th of the month. Why should I have to pay my rent on the 1st of the month?
Did you meet with the property manager to ask that question? I'm gonna set up a meeting with you with the property manager for tomorrow. You in tomorrow?
Do you want me to come in tomorrow?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Man, my mom will be here.
Okay. I'll set up a meeting with Dan. You can meet with Dan at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Dan who?
Dan Toto.
I don't want to talk to him.
Oh,
I don't want to talk to him again and lie. I don't care. I don't want to talk to him again and lie.
All right.
Okay? And that's the way I feel about him and everybody else in this office. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later.
Excuse me, Mr. Clark, I got one thing to say.
You just have to say that. I'm sorry, it's got to go through the chair, but then you can say to me. Chair?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes.
We need speed bumps over in Robeson. It's honest to God. Then people come through there 40 and 50, it's too many children over there. They got speed bumps in every complex but that one.
Chair, just so
And
you
it's
know-
not right.
Right, yeah. So Gretchen and I actually met with the city engineer.
I got a
Yes.
letter stating that I had to, excuse me.
No, you go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I'm
got
just
a
trying to
letter.
remember the date. I'm
I
trying
just
to remember.
wanted John to finish what he was saying, and then, you know,
Okay.
John, go ahead.
I'll defer to Gretchen.
I got-
We had the same meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I bet you didn't ask you the question, I did.
yeah.
But it
No,
didn't answer your question.
I'm getting ready to answer your question. I got a letter
Well,
stating,
you gotta answer the question. You gotta answer the question.
No, because we met.
No, I'm
because
telling- we met.
Yeah.
That's why I figured.
One at a
oh,
time, please.
I got a
I'm
letter,
gone. I'm gone because y'all
Okay, that's
I
one
got a
down.
letter saying
And,
that
you're up.
Housing Authority had to do something about it. I just looked at the letter the other day, and that the city couldn't do nothing. It was the Housing Authority's problem, because I went down to the city,
Okay.
and they said it was y'all that had to do something about it. Because I've been fighting this and talking about this, somebody gonna get killed out there.
So, can you bring that letter, because remember we
Yeah,
had
I'll
the
go to
meeting?
the house.
Okay, so Chair, just so you know, we had a meeting with the city engineer, we came to walk the property. There was a discussion between speed humps and speed bumps. And we basically said, we don't care what you call it, just put something there that's gonna slow the cars down.
right.
They said they were gonna go back to engineering, they were gonna investigate it and let us know whether the city had to approve speed humps that were a certain distance apart, or whether we would be authorized, because I said, look, we could do it, and they said you can't do it because there's a ordinance that says you can't have humps or bumps that are within a certain distance of each other or something.
But they're on every
So-
But they're on all over Avenue.
I'm with you 100%, but they've written, so now they've apparently written a letter, because Gretchen was the initial person that filed it. We'll get the letter. If they are now deferring to us and they say, hey, this is something the housing authority, by all means, That's what we asked to do in the first place, but we were told initially that the city engineer had to come, and we had 2 meetings with the city engineer, and we went through and did the property. So if they're saying you can do what you want, that's fantastic, because then we can actually get contracting involved. But we were told that you can't do anything until they come and engineer it to see if they meet the ordinance requirement. So if that's the case, I'd love to get a copy of the letter,
I was just gonna say.
and then we can move forward on it, that'd be great.
John a
I
copy,
thought
so
they had sent you
either
one.
we can.
So I don't know if that answers your question. So the good thing would be if the city does actually say, you can go ahead and do it, and that's something we can do through a contractor. Or if the city says, we just checked our records and it's something that we can do, then they just need an authorization from us saying, go ahead and do it, because for insurance reasons, in case somebody does go over it and damages something, they wouldn't be liable for that. But we're all in agreement that the humps would be helpful. Or bumps, or whatever you want to call it, whatever slows it down.
Whatever, just slow them down.
Yeah,
do
okay,
we have
thank
I
you.
have a question.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Where, in specific, where area you're looking at for the homes?
They would be Bergen, Jennings, Gatling, and across Sample and Carter.
Carter Road.
Carter Road too.
Well, yeah, what we asked for was Bergen, Jennings, Gatling, across Sample and Carter.
In Carter Road?
Yeah,
They're on sample.
they're on Sample, but they don't go all the way, they don't go all the way
And
through.
they're not big enough.
And they don't go back into the other areas of Bergen, Jennings. They're on the front area of Bergen, Jennings, but they don't go back into it.
Okay.
So this would actually stop cars from going
Round curve.
around curves,
On 2
and,
wheels.
you know what I'm saying, like going around that area fast.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm done. And I want my gutters clean because the rain coming in my windows.
What building is it?
13
yeah.
Burton.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
I'm through. I gotta go to prayer meeting.
All right, thank you, thank you. Say one for us all.
All y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, we need it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later. I gotta go to prayer meeting.
Okay, I mean, what's there something else?
You ready, Chair? Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Some-
Good.
You want to say something else? Go ahead. No, I'll wait. No, I can wait.
I don't know.
Okay. Richard Spencer, 2 Jennings.
When you get
My
when you get that
thing
letter,
is-
could you please direct it to John?
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine's,
so we can get a
yeah,
idea of
mine's
what we
is. I want to know why we don't get a decent rent receipt like we used to get, and why it got to be
So
handwritten,
this,
because it's not telling us nothing.
So, Chair, so you know, we just changed over our computer system. They are doing hand receipts. They'll probably do them through the end of this month. Then we'll go back to the printouts in September. So we
In
just changed
September?
over our system, yeah.
Okay, because that's what I need to,
this is what I was talking about.
that's what I need to find out.
So this is from Liz.
Okay.
So you haven't met
So
with Liz?
basically, they're doing their computer over themselves, they're doing
Come by
handwritten
tomorrow.
ones
Yeah,
now.
see me tomorrow at 10
In a
o'clock.
month or so.
And
they'll-
this, what I was
when
saying, I didn't understand what I had to
the whole
do the
computer thing set
regular
up,
first of the
you'll
month,
be
and
getting
I get
the
my check
the
on
other
the third of the month,
generated,
and then
computer
I get
generated
the
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because this is confusing. I know I have.
Yeah. It'll
a
go
little
over in
on my-
September, it'll go back to the regular
Yeah, it's
print.
on my account.
Yeah, right.
So I want to make sure my money is still
You should be
there.
good.
Yes.
But I will
You
still
know.
call Liz, but come
Okay.
see me tomorrow at 10, because I want
And
to talk about
whatnot.
everything anyway.
Who?
I want to talk to you about the door thing.
I don't talk to y'all about no door. I wasn't important then, so I'm not important now, I'm important to me. It's done, I ain't worried about it.
All right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
So it will go over in September. It'll change back.
Change back in September. Okay, and, oh God, what was that on? It slipped my mind just that fast. Oh, we got to get together.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
You know there was a, earlier? I'll talk to you.
I was outside earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I was on my way
I'll
home.
call you later.
Yes, do.
Okay.
I was on my way home when
So you saw,
when the supervisor was going in. I'm
Yeah, they'll be
like,
coming in.
what the hell happened?
All right.
Excuse my French, y'all. But what the hell happened? I know something happened, and my driver was looking at me like I was crazy. But when I went in and I got home, I said, well, Shorty, let's go for another walk. And we talked to him, and I told him, I said, you see them over there? Ask them for their IDs. I said, they got to go. I'm tired of them. Everybody out there is tired of all the crap.
If I don't get you tonight, tomorrow I'll call you in the morning, first thing.
All right, yeah, what's tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Okay, I'll be home.
Okay, cool.
I don't plan on going nowhere.
Ready, check?
All right,
All right, guys.
ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
What's the matter?
John,
I'm sorry.
the resolution.
No, I was just waiting for the chair.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to comment. I can wait till after the resolutions if you like.
Yeah, you're gonna stay for the resolution, we'll do it then, we'll just kind of get through this, and then you can, then you can.
Good night, Ms. Gretchen.
Good night.
Thanks, Rich.
Have a good night.
Resolution number 16 is a resolution ratifying, authorizing, and approving payment of bills for the month of May and June 2019.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Walde,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes.
Resolution number 17 is a resolution ratifying, authorizing, and approving the write-offs of certain rent in the total amount of $16,467.31 deemed to be uncollectible by staff and personnel of the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick.
Move it.
Second.
Paul, do you have a question?
I'm sorry, who's it?
What?
Moved
There's
it.
a question.
Oh, Dale.
Second.
I mean,
There's a question.
okay, hold on. Dale moved and Wally seconded?
I'll second it.
It was a tie.
Kevin
second.
said, Kevin second.
But he has-
Kevin seconded. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who had a question?
I mean, how is it compared to last year?
Yeah.
So, just so you understand, this is an accounting transaction that we're required to take at our year end.
Yeah.
We collect upwards of $1.3 million in rent annually.
Okay.
And this is a write-off of $16,000 from that 1.6 million, which means it basically is amounts where people have expired and owe us money. They've been evicted and owe us money. It is not an actual write-off of any tenant that is still here. For the tenants that were evicted or have skipped out that owe us money, we continue to pursue them, but for accounting purposes, we have to write it off at the end of the year because it comes off of our books as a collectible component for that revenue. In comparison, we usually go between $6,000 to $35,000, depending on the year. But again, because it goes to people who have expired, whatever amount they owe us at that time, as well as to people that we have found back charges on that have either skipped out. If somebody has a large back charge and we find the back charge, in some cases people skip out when we find the back charge. So we might find a back charge of $3,000 or $4,000 on an individual. They get a letter from us that says, we found a back charge, and then 2 weeks later, we don't get their rent, we go to the unit and everything's up.
Right.
So it really is, I think it's a testament to our staff to only have a $16,000 amount out of a $1.2 million collection. But again, some of those we'll never collect because there's no estate money for people that, the majority of people that live here. However, in some cases, they do have assets, so we actually continue to attempt to collect those. But for accounting purposes, we have to do this as of June 30th of that year close, so that's why we're doing it.
Thank you.
Did that answer? Yeah.
Ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 18 is a resolution authorizing and approving the payment of bills for the month of July 2019.
So move.
Second.
Second Caldwell. Ready? Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair. Chair?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, I was
Oh,
just
great.
reading the next resolution.
All right. Resolution number 20 is resolution authorizing and adopting the return state budget for the Housing Authority of the City of Brunswick for FY 6/30/20 and authorizing its final submission. Oh, I'm sorry, 19.
19.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ed.
19.
Correction, I'll go back to
That's what I was
19.
just saying. I'm gonna
19
just
is
write it.
resolution
That's what I read.
authorizing, approving contract with Rich Tree NJ State Contract 18-DPP00645 in the amount not to exceed $37,671.
So moved.
Second.
So, as you know, we've had a pretty waterlogged summer and last couple of years. We have not had any tree trimming or tree cutback service here in over 10 years. We have had a number of trees and branches that have fallen, and we looked at the state contract for a component that we could find. This contractor is under state contract and has gone through the complete bidding process. This is a not to exceed amount for the entire property, so we're going over our entire 12-acre property, cutting back, and what they call lollipopping trees, basically, that are hanging over any of our units. As one of the tenants said, we have about 24 trees right now that are either encroaching on top of or hanging over some of our 39 buildings. And we're hopeful that we're going to be able to cut back or remove any trees that we're required to remove. We also have some very old trees here that when they were planted in the 1950s, were planted in strategic areas. They now have outgrown their use, and in some cases now have the potential for compromising some of our building foundations. So those trees, unfortunately, would need to be removed. It's our hope that we're going to do this in 2 stages. This would be the first stage. We'll then come back and do an assessment to see if we're able to get through all of the property of what's left at the end of this. But we really want to try to get this done, as much of this done before the winter comes. We did have 3 trees that fell during the last few months. Thank goodness no buildings got hit. But we did have a building hit by 1 tree branch, which we had to go back and repair ourselves, and a gutter that was knocked off. So again, we have 39 buildings here. We have a lot of trees, and this contract is, as I said, from the state contract, and we hope to do this in 2 stages.
Does this affect our insurance, John? I know like sometimes when you have a homeowner, you come and you buy a home and the trees, they want you to take certain things.
Yeah, it's a combination. This is a combination of our insurance company and,
Right.
and our architect and engineer coming in and saying, that's gotta go, that's gotta get cut back, that tree or that area is overgrowth now and is
Right.
affecting your gutters. You heard one of the tenants tonight talk about her gutters being filled. That happens in many cases with the trees that are over the top of roofs. Just for function purposes, you really should not have trees actually that are over your roof line.
No, yeah.
It's not a good thing. So, and again, this is the first phase component. Our hope is that we'll be able to utilize this contract to get through as much as we can and then do a reassessment to see what other components have to be removed. But this is immediate, and in fact, we've actually started to do some of the work underneath the 17.5 within our budgeting amount, but we need the remainder approved by you so we can get them all done before December.
John, I'd like to abstain, just abstain when it comes to my vote.
Yep.
Good.
You approve yourself, I assume?
What's that?
I said you approve yourself, I assume, for abstention? As a chair, you get to.
Yeah, I guess so.
You get to approve
Sure.
abstentions. Okay. Ready for the roll call? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And the chair abstains.
Thank you.
Now, resolution number 20 is a resolution approving and adopting the return state budget for the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick for FY6 3020 and authorizing final submission.
So moved.
I'll second.
This is our
Go ahead.
return state budget.
No, no.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair? Yes?
Jared.
Yes, I was just reading the next one, sorry.
The next one is resolution 21. It's a resolution,
Kevin Jones is on the next one.
resolution approving acceptance of Commissioner Kevin Jones to professional development training program from September 11th, 2019 through September 14th, 2019.
So moved.
I'll second.
Ready?
Roll call.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
All right, resolution number 23 is a resolution approving and adopting the revised admissions and continued
Hey,
occupancy.
hold on, back it up, 22.
22 we did as the
We did
presentation.
Oh, that's right, okay.
All right.
All right,
Sorry.
Josh.
I thought that was
Resolution
27.
23, again, is a resolution approving and adopting the revised admissions and continued
27.
occupancy policy, ACOP, for the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick.
So move.
Second.
So Chair, as you know, we have an admissions and continued occupancy policy for our public housing program and an administrative plan for our Section 8 program. All those documents basically govern the requirements for HUD and the notices and changes over a period of time for our 2 programs. As you may know, over the last couple of years, we've had some changes to the policies and procedures within the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Those changes have now bled through to the Federal Registry, which is basically the document that governs how we operate our program and how funds are given to us for the purposes of. And those changes now require us to make revisions to the 2 main policies. And they include a number of summary changes that I gave you all in a summary page. You know, and again, I do apologize for the size of the documents that I have to send you, but unfortunately they are what they are. This is for our public housing program, the ACOP, which governs basically all the policies and procedures underneath that program. And the changes are far and stretching. Many of them are form changes for submissioning requirements, screening changes, some of the criminal background components, those types of things. I did share with you a recent notice out from the administration about immigration statuses and those types of things. We have not gotten the final guidance from HUD on that for us. When we do, we'll have to make an assessment of whether we may have to come back to you again for a amendment, or whether it's something that administratively we can incorporate into these revised plans.
Right.
I suspect that will have an effect on both these plans, if it's finalized the way I think it's gonna be finalized. So, but that being said, you know, that's basically what the changes are. Each are from basically administrative forms, functions, and procedures that we're required to incorporate into our plans. Every authority has an ACOP, every authority has an admin plan, and those changes will be national. So pretty much everyone is gonna be changing. Ready?
Sure, roll call?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 24 is a resolution approving and adopting revised administrative plan, the admin plan, for the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick.
So move.
Second.
Same thing, except for the Section 8 program. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 25 is a resolution awarding and approving the contract with Haymanson, Parnes, and Giampolo for for auditing services for the fiscal year ending 6/30/19 in an amount not to exceed $15,945.
Move it.
I'll second. Anybody got any questions? Board?
How many bids did you have?
Giampolo?
There's only one.
It was advertised 2 separate times. We sent out 4 packages and we received 1 proposal back.
Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution 26 is a resolution awarding and approving contract with William Elias for management consulting services in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
Make a motion.
Is that a second from Walden?
I'm under the impression, but I don't.
A second, your
Did you second it?
I thought I said move.
Second it.
Oh, you moved? Oh,
Yeah, he moved it.
I didn't hear you, that's right. All right, she's.
Oh, so she'll say.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
This is a fee-for-service contract. We don't, the last 3 years, we haven't come close to that amount, but that's the bid amount for the RFP. So
Right.
this was publicly advertised, same thing, and that's the response. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 27 is a resolution awarding and approving contract with Manfredi and Pellecchio to provide general legal services to the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Question, board? John?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 28 is acting as redevelopment agency, a resolution awarding and approving a contract to provide legal services in conjunction with redevelopment matters undertaken by the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick with Wilentz, Goldman, and Spitzer Esquire.
So move.
Second.
May I have you heard on this? Board, at the end. Anybody got questions on the board? John?
Ready? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 29 is a resolution awarding and approving the contract for energy audit to EMG in an amount not to exceed $13,400.
So moved.
Second.
Chair, just so you understand, I know this
Yes.
amount is below the bid requirement, but we did it as an RFP because we didn't really know what the amount would be. But we were successful in receiving responses back, and I know I already had a question from one board member, like, why do we need to do this? It's less than the threshold amount. But just so you understand, we didn't know what it would be. We thought it would be between 12 and 18, so we wanted to make sure.
They do this annually, right?
No, energy audits are done every 5 to 7 years, depending on what the requirements are, and we are due for one.
Oh, when did you do this?
The last time I think was probably 7 years ago, so we're due.
Looks like yesterday.
Yeah, it feels like yesterday. I know, trust me. All ready, Chair?
Yes, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Dunlap?
Yes.
Mr. Walde?
Yes.
Mr. Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 30 is a resolution awarding and approving the contract for architecture and engineering services to Joseph F. McKiernan Jr. in an amount not to exceed $30,000 annually.
So move.
Second.
Again, this is a fee-for-service agreement. At the last few years, we have not met the threshold amount. This is for architect and engineering services for any purposes, whether it's repair, unit turnaround, renovation, recovery for a unit if we have damages, etc.
This is like retaining type situation?
It's a not to exceed, yeah, it's a fee-for-service not to exceed amount, so we basically contract up to that amount, and then they only work as we call them to take on certain tasks. 1 year, it may be $15,000 of work in the entire year. Another year, it might be $24,000, but we need to do a not to exceed amount to assure that, I'm sorry, we just had a problem with the motorcycle the last few minutes. Anyway, we just do that because it is required that we go under contract for an amount not to exceed. If we come close to that amount, we would come back to the board and ask for either an extension or approval for additional amounts to go. But this is a cap, essentially. There's no retainers deal. It pretty much is as we need them. But that amount is there in case we have a broken pipe in the middle of the winter, in case we, the tree hits a building and we go, is it safe for the tenant to live there? And the tenant comes in. We unfortunately had a car that hit a building, as you may have seen coming in Right Place, where somebody actually drove a car into a living room in a building. So we needed an architect and engineer to come in and make sure that the structure was safe. So, ready?
Yes, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Dunlap?
Yes.
Mr. Walde?
Yes.
Mr. Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 31, which is a resolution awarding and approving contract for unit modernization, maintenance, repair to All Risk in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
John, can you, go ahead.
You need a,
An motion here?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I'll second.
You second? Okay. Yes. Or,
Got questions?
Yes. So just clarify, unit modernization, so for each, does your cap 200,000?
correct, same thing. The next resolutions and this resolution, again, this is a capped amount. This essentially is to perform our unit turnaround tasks. This was done as a bid, a closed sealed bid component that included unit turnarounds and unit major repairs and items. So if we have a roof collapse, if we have a number of vacant units that need to be turned that have substantial damage, meaning that the floors have been destroyed or need to be replaced, we need a new kitchen, we need a new entire bathroom, something that exceeds our staff's ability to do or time to do, we would bring in this contractor on a time and material basis, and they would perform that work within the data space and wage requirements. Because we're federally funded, all work has to be done within that component, and this would be done for a unit turnaround. We turn around anywhere from 20 to 60 was our highest number of units back in the day, units a year. Some units can be easily turned around with some paint, some replacement of appliances. Other units are major modernization rehab, meaning that the entire floors have to be torn up, replaced. Entire bathrooms have to be torn out, replaced. Entire kitchens have to be torn out, replaced. Electrical upgrades, plumbing upgrades, those types of things. So the next few contracts, you're going to see amounts that are within our budgeted areas and within our annual budgets, but we're now looking to try to bring the contracting component in so that when we do have issues like this, we're not waiting for board meetings or waiting to see if we have money budgeted. We're already going in within a capped amount with authorization. And again, as I said, these were done as bids. Ready?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Dunlap?
Yes.
Mr. Walde?
Yes.
Mr. Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 32 is a resolution awarding and approving contract for electrical repair and maintenance to Magic Touch Construction in an amount not to exceed $100,000.
So move.
Second.
I'm sorry, who moved that? Jones? Okay. Same thing, would be for annual electric components here. And that's everything from board replacements to things that are beyond our general electric staff people's abilities. We change outlets, we do general things, but our employees don't touch electrical panels, electrical board replacements, exterior building electrical replacements if a branch hits an electrical line off of a building or such. We want to make sure we have a contractor that's under contract for the entire year that we believe will be able to call within a 24-hour notice requirement and get them out here.
Are these budgets based on historical?
So what we did was we looked at the last 3 years.
Oh, 3 years, okay.
And we also have to understand that the age of a lot of these systems are coming due now. So the next 3 to 5 years, we have major concerns about major systems failing. That's why you're going to see plumbing, electric, larger components that we have not to exceed amounts. We may only spend $25,000 of that. But if we get 6 panels that fail, the panels are $12,000 each.
Right.
So we have 39 buildings.
Right.
So, and they're now at or exceeding their lifespan. So we know it's going to happen. What we've done now is we've tried to go ahead and be proactive and be prepared. But again, these are all fee-for-service transactions. They don't come unless we call them or we have an emergency. We put emergency response requirements in the bid spec and we bid it. So it's something that we're gonna see how it works out. I mean, my hope, knock on wood, is that we don't have to use them for that many things, and that we'll be back to you again when we do another bid next year, saying the same exact thing, and saying, geez, I hope we're not anywhere near these amounts. But these are amounts that we put out there. Chair, ready?
You ready? Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution 33, which is a resolution awarding and approving contract for security cameras and maintenance to Comtech in the amount not to exceed $80,000 annually.
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Same thing, not to exceed amount. Also, this includes camera replacement upgrades and any system upgrades that are necessary over the next year. We're very happy that the current contractor did respond to the bid, and the system's working well, as you may know, and continues to work well, 24 hours a day. Ready?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes.
Resolution number 34 is a resolution awarding and approving contract for bed bug treatment services to Alliance Pest Control in an amount not to exceed $25,000 annually.
So moved.
Second.
Again, this is a bid with a spec not to exceed. We have a number of units that have some challenges here with issues that are beyond housing. Some clients, we are working with the state and with some other case managers with those tenants. However, we're a housing authority, we're not a social service agency in that side, or we're not clinical people by any means. So our hope is that we'll continue to partner with some of the local nonprofits that do that kind of stuff and with the hospital. We have a great working relationship with Robert Wood Johnson, and we have a great working relationship with the state of New Jersey. But we have a number of units, not a large number, a small number, with some individual clients that continue to have a problem with this. And my hope is that they'll get the assistance they need from their case managers with the state, maybe some assistance from the hospital, and continue to work with our staff and what will soon to be the new company that will be on board to help us treat those units. It is a very, very, very small number of units, knock on wood. But all you need is a couple, and it spreads. So my hope is that we'll attack this small number aggressively, and we'll partner that with both case management services, some assistance from the clinical people at Robert Wood, and the state case managers. All the tenants that have reported these effect components are in active case management. So it's not just somebody walking in the street. The challenge we have now is that in one case, it's actually affecting the neighbor, which is a health and safety issue.
Right.
So now we've had to notice that tenant that their actions have have been put on notice for a possible termination of lease.
Termination, right.
Because, you know, which,
But you're still gonna have to go and take care of the situation. no matter
still have to go take care of the situation either way, and I hope that they're able to remediate to the degree that they need to their activities and actions, but as I said, they're clinical issues
what. Right.
that were not set up or to handle. Ready?
Please, John.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution 35 is a resolution awarding and approving the contract for lead testing consulting services to LEW Corporation in an amount not to exceed $10,499 annually.
So move.
Second.
So Chair, as you may know, we do and have had some lead testing. We continue to do that. HUD has actually issued a notice now with some sample testing components based on some issues that happened across the river, as you may know. And in order to complete that, we went out and did a solicitation, a request for proposals from companies to do certain sampling amounts to a certain degree from various bedroom sizes to see what actions and activities we need. So this is only on the testing side. Any remediation or continued activity components, we would have to come back to the board should there be any need for that. So this is only on the testing side.
Great expense.
Yep. Ready?
From the board? Okay, very good. All right. John, please.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution 36 is a resolution awarding and approving a contract for plumbing repair and maintenance to Magic Touch Construction in an amount not to exceed $200,000 annually.
So moved.
Second.
So again, Chair, this was a sealed bid advertisement. Similarly, same thing as before, as I mentioned, these are not to exceed amounts based on fee for services. It's our hope that we will not be anywhere near this amount. However, if we do have major issues, we do have major items that need to be addressed, we will now be able to do that within the component without having to come back to you every single time over the next 12 months. I will tell you that the city, as you know, has been going through a major upgrade to their underground components. And we will similarly need to do that in the very near future because ours is the same age.
Right.
That will not be handled with this. That
Right.
is a substantial undertaking for us and would be because we are also, handle the hydrant and other components within our property, as you know. So this is just for identified items, leaks, cracks, breaks, winter breaks, underground breaks that we're able to get to now. As well as any unit components that are failing, including sewer lines, storm lines, drains, active water, that kind of stuff.
From the board. Okay. John?
Ready?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay, home stretch. Resolution number 37, which is a resolution authorizing and approving the CMAP for the housing. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. For the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick.
On the sidewalk, right?
Yes, here, right down somewhere.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to.
Speed bumps on the sidewalk.
So, I'm sorry, resolution 37 is a resolution authorizing and approving the CMAP for the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the board?
This is our annual CMAP submission, it's required to be submitted by September 1st. It is a electronically scored component, so it's basically an assessment of our programs and operations.
John?
Roll call, Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes. Okay, any questions from the public? And Charlie, I think you had a question on what, 28?
Good evening, members of the board. Charlie Cradwell, New Brunswick today. First question, who is the vice chair?
So is it vice chair?
I'm sorry, Chair? The vice chair is Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Right.
The second vice chair is Commissioner Caldwell, and the chairman is Commissioner Giorgiani.
Thank you, and congratulations on your new roles. Is the board going to do a retreat this year? I know that was supposed to be an annual thing, it's been about a year.
John?
Actually, we do the board retreat for our annual plan, which is every 5 years.
Okay.
We did one in June of 2018, as you may know, but we will, and I'm going to be meeting with the chair to talk about this. We're probably, depending on some of the changes that we're hearing are coming, or maybe already in process from the administration, that are going to maybe be some executive orders because of the immigration changes. We will probably need to have some sort of either operations committee retreat or full board retreat once we get our arms around what those are. We don't necessarily know what will be actually make it through regulatorily wise, if there's going to be an act of Congress. Some of the actions we're hearing may not necessarily even need those types of approvals. They may just be executive orders, and we'll have to, they'll issue us a notice and we'll have to amend our policies. So there may be, but that usually happens in the spring after the holidays.
Thank you for the answer. So by my count, it's been 91 days since this board met last, and I just wanted to confirm the June meeting and July meeting were canceled due to lack of quorum, or what was the reason?
John?
Yeah, we had a lack of quorum.
Okay. And why was this date selected for the special meeting?
John?
We, Chair, as the former chair may know, we told the board with 3 dates. This was the date that was available for a
For
quorum.
everybody.
Okay, just, respectfully would prefer these meetings not happen at the same exact time as our city council. There's no reason for that. There's got to be other days to do that, and I've brought this up before, so I hope that that same mistake doesn't get made again. I do want to ask about resolutions 16 and 18 paying bills. Does this include a water and sewer bill to the city? And where does the authority stand as far as its obligations to pay those? I know it's been in the paper the past 2 years, significant debt to the water and sewer.
John?
I'm sorry, Chair, what's not, we didn't have a debt. What happened, we actually, we're meeting with the city to go through some meter changes. We actually changed one of the meters on property of the 3 meters. We then worked with the city out to settlement amounts, and those settlement amounts have been settled. We are current on our bill.
Next one is number 19. Mr. Chairman, I believe you abstained from this. Can you just tell us why?
I'll have. Why would you think?
I don't know. Are you affiliated with this company?
No.
Okay. Are you concerned that do you not support the contract? Or it's a fair question to ask why you voted the way you did.
It's a fair question. I'm not going to answer it.
Okay, bizarre. The next one, number 20, this state budget. Is this, am I going to be able to get this document if I email Mr. Clark, if I email you tomorrow? Would you be able to provide this?
So, Chair, just so,
Go ahead, John.
from a function purpose, we actually, it has not been signed by the state. So what will happen is we will now send it back to the state with the resolution. The state will sign it.
Sure.
If you shoot me a note and say, when you get it back, can you email to me or whatever, or scan it or whatever it is, I'll have no problem in providing that. They're usually pretty quick about getting it back within a 1 or 2 week period of time.
But I would like to see it before you get it back, since this board has just approved of it, so.
Yeah, as long as
We've been through this before,
Yeah,
but
I don't have a
sometimes it
problem.
takes till November.
Chair, I don't have a problem with providing that as long as it's under the caveat that this has not been approved by the state.
Yeah, I
I don't have a problem in providing that.
Thank you.
So if you could just shoot me a note.
I will,
Thank you.
thank you, I'll follow up. Just want to follow up on 21 is the Mr. Jones professional development. Where and how much?
We go over this every year with you, Charlie. Nothing has changed. I go to the same place.
Okay.
John?
I catch a train in Massachusetts, and it's a small conference with 35 people. And I learn, and whatever I bring back to enhance this housing authority, that's what I do.
Okay, the cost.
Actually, the cost is detailed in the resolution. The registration is $630. Travel expenses are not to exceed $700, but the commissioner never exceeds that. The hotel is up to $844.70, and the per diem is $400 with a cap.
4 days.
Correct, it's over 4 days.
Thank you. So moving on, I was hoping to speak on this one before you vote on it. 28, you're hiring Wilentz firm to be your redevelopment counsel. And I know they've done that for a long time. Can you tell me, did anybody else bother to bid this time, or are they the only bidder?
I'm sorry, what resolution was that, John?
28, the Wilentz contract.
the resolution was advertised 2 times, publicly bid as an RFP. We received 3 proposals. 3 proposals were scored, and the highest responding bidder was the Williams firm.
Okay.
Just for purposes of the board, this is a professional service. It is not even required to be, but we do go out and bid it every year to see if the rates are competitive and where they are. And Williams was the lowest responding replier. There were 3 other firms, 3 total firms that responded.
Thank you. And so I have a concern I'd like to raise about this contract. Nothing personal against Mr. Hoffman. I know he's a very nice man, but I'm concerned that there's a conflict of interest with this firm representing the authority. You have, as recently as last year, been working with developers that partner with the New Brunswick Parking Authority. I just confirmed with Mr. Hoffman outside, he still is the authority, the parking authority's bond counsel. And I believe he also has a role at the Middlesex County Improvement Authority. And so I know that this board often deals with projects that both of those agencies are essentially partners in the applications that this board evaluates. So it just doesn't make sense for you to have your attorney also showing up to represent the Parking Authority and the Improvement Authority when they're doing projects. I know, for instance, they did, MCI did the Heldrick financing. The county reserved 2 floors of offices in the new Performing Arts Center. And the Parking Authority, of course, is involved in that.
Duly noted.
Thank you. So, yeah, would have preferred you pick one of the other proposals there. And then, I guess, I need to ask about 2 other matters. So the vacant seat on the board has been vacant since about 2013. I think it was the last time somebody was actually seated there on behalf of the state. Is there any future potential for somebody to actually take that seat? What's the whole?
Mr. Chair, we would love for the state to make an appointment. I believe they're aware of the vacancy. I've communicated with the state asking if they plan on filling the seat. I know there are a number of authorities that still have vacancies, and we await, we're not the appointing entity. I mean, we would await the state's appointment of a qualified person to work with the board, and it may help us get quorums in many cases, challenging, especially in times of holiday seasons and such. But again, we're not the appointing entity, yeah. I mean,
Well, thank you for putting that on the record. I'm
Sure,
glad
no
you're
problem
not
putting that on the
hold up.
record.
I think that to the
we would
extent
love to
that-
have a qualified appointment.
Right, and so in terms of qualified, what are the qualifications to take that seat? Do you have to be a city resident?
Yeah, so the state is the appointing entity. They would be the people that make that determination for what their screening and their qualifications are. So it's not.
Okay, so for the record, I've gone on the website for the governor's appointments, and there's all sorts of agencies you can select and apply and say, I want to be appointed to this. New Brunswick Housing Authority is missing from the list, and I've raised this to the governor's people, and nothing's been done, so I'm not surprised that nobody's applied.
Why?
What's that?
It's probably missing what you said, it's probably why. They have to act on it.
Yeah, and so I'm concerned the governor is not doing his duty to put
Well,
somebody
that's
on this
something,
board,
well-
and I just know some of you know the governor, some of you have.
Next question, because
So-
I don't know the governor, and,
Okay.
right, this is all about, people voting for people, and if they're not gonna do their job, they don't get in again, we can't do anything about this.
Okay, well, I hope the seat gets filled soon. Final thing I have to ask about is Mr. Jack Morris's company, Edgewood Properties, has been here.
Can you do your next question? You see what this is going on and on and on with the same conversation.
This is a totally new item.
I don't
So,
know, want me to-
So I think it was in
Okay.
December, a company came here and made presentations for 2 different, to be the designated redeveloper for 2 different redevelopment areas. And it was said by Mr. Hoffman that within 90 days, an agreement would be struck for this board to consider. And an extension was granted because they didn't meet the 90 days. And then the June meeting was canceled, and then the July meeting was canceled. And here we are in August 16, 2019, and this isn't even on the agenda and wasn't addressed by Mr. Hoffman, who was here. What's the holdup? What's going on with this?
Chair?
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, there's an existing resolution that extends the extension through September 25th for both of those items. That's why it's not on the agenda. And I can tell you that we, Mr. Hoffman and I continue to have discussions with the potential developer on negotiating a redevelopment agreement. I'm sure Mr. Hoffman can give an update on that, but there's a current resolution extending the term through September 25th, so both of those, for both of those. That's why it's not on the agenda.
Thank you for explaining. Just
Now,
my,
that's not to say that they may come back again, I just want to.
right. So just my 2 cents, I'm concerned that you guys are getting played by them. Like before, when they said they were gonna build a supermarket there, they said they were gonna build housing there, and they failed to do it. And now they're here stringing us along, not coming to the agreement that they should. So be more skeptical.
Anybody gonna second?
I'm sorry, who moved?
Commissioner,
I'm sorry.
second.
Second?
Roll call, John.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes.
Chairman? Okay, thank you. Chair, I have a bunch of stuff